Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, Mario. What do these iconic characters all have in common? Well, the answer is in the question. They are all just that. Iconic. But wait, there's one more. Sonic the Hedgehog. You've seen him before, you'd be lying if you said you didn't. If you couldn't already tell, this would be a video about Sonic the Hedgehog. I consider myself something of a Sonic fan. There's definitely a stigma behind being a Sonic fan, but I like to consider myself one of the more rational ones. But enough of the formalities, let's get right into it. Today I want to talk to you about the sorely under-discussed longevity and resilience of Sonic the Hedgehog. Whenever the topic of the blue hedgehog is brought to the table, it is generally met with the usual responses: Sonic hasn't been good since the 90s, or Sonic's rocky transition to 3D, or the obligatory mention of that one game that came out in 2006. I don't know, I forgot the name. Sonic is something of a punching bag to the gaming community, an easy target, if you will. There's no doubt that the series has seen numerous rough patches and questionable decisions on behalf of the developers, but whether you like him or not, you cannot deny that Sonic the Hedgehog as a character and franchise has stood the test of time despite the numerous missteps in his catalog of games. Not many franchises can say they survived such a long and often troubled past as the Blue Hedgehog. But what is it about the Blue Hedgehog that keeps him alive? What keeps fans and detractors alike coming back for more with each and every release? What makes him one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time? What brings the character such success even outside of the video game world? This video will aim to provide answers to all of these questions. You are now watching Wayne TV, and this is the appeal of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Hey guy, you're the first serious gamer I've seen all morning. Check this out, brand new 16-bit Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. Wow!
What's this one?
Oh, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog from Sega Genesis. Hey, look at these radical colors, huh?
Wow, Sonic's fast too.
No, over here.
I like Genesis, and it costs a lot less.
Wait, kid, that game
I'll
there.
take Sonic and Genesis.
I knew that.
Sonic the Hedgehog. More action, more speed. Sega Genesis, it's a whole lot more for less.
In order to understand who Sonic is, what he stands for, and why he's been around for so long, I think it's important to know the circumstances that gave way to his creation. I think context is really important when talking about how Sonic came to be. The year was 1991. George H.W. Bush was president. It was the final year of the Cold War. Michael Jackson's Dangerous album was on the horizon. Nirvana was topping the charts. The first season of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was in the middle of its original run. I wasn't born yet. Oh, and Nintendo was the unprecedented king of the video game industry.
Mario! Mario! Mario!
Their golden child Mario was the face of video games. Super Mario Bros. 3 was fresh on the market and was dominating sales, pushing 17 million copies worldwide and being universally touted as one of the greatest video games ever made. Ever since the debut of the original Super Mario Bros. On the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985, Nintendo and Mario established themselves as juggernauts in the gaming industry. At this point, many had tried and failed to end their reign. That was until a company named Sega decided to create a character that could go toe-to-toe red-clad plumber and potentially knock Nintendo off their throne, breaking their near monopoly on the industry. It was this desire that led to the birth of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Now, when you buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1, you'll get Sonic 2 absolutely free. Sonic 2 handles stubborn stains, embarrassing bald spots, no problem. It even slices and dices, makes thousands of julienne fries. But wait, you can play it too. This free Sonic 2 is a $54.99 value. You get 2 Sonics for the price of 1. Sonic 2 fits easily into any tackle box. Made from a space-age polymer plastic for years of family fun. And pets love it too. Buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1 and get Sonic 2 free.
Act now. Wiener Dog sweater sold separately.
In my opinion, one very underrated aspect of Sonic is his design. While simple on the surface, there was a very deliberate method behind the look of the blue blur. Starting with his distinctive blue color that matched the logo of Sega, that immediately grabs your attention. It's also worth mentioning that his blue color contrasts with the primarily red color scheme of his rival Mario, although I doubt this was intentional. It's a nice little observation though. Sonic's overall design is very 90s, while also being timeless at the same time. A cool, snarky 90s attitude apparent from just looking at him, inspired by Bill Clinton's, of all people, get it done attitude. Gloves inspired by Mickey Mouse, shoes inspired by both Santa Claus and Michael Jackson in both color and design. It's worth noting that Sonic's core character design has received very little alteration over his 30-plus year history, with the exception of a slight tweak for the new millennium and alterations for spin-offs and other forms of media. This is a testament to just how well executed his design is. A good character design is one that can be identified by a silhouette alone. This popular quote applies to Sonic perfectly. An often overlooked aspect of Sonic's visual appeal is that he is a character that transcends race and gender and other things of the sort. He is quite simply a character that exudes cool factor.
It's a supersonic flight, gotta keep it going.
Oh yeah! This is happening! Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. Think I'd miss this? Time to crack that Eggman wide open! Yeah, let's party!
Shara, will you grant me one more wish? I wish for a mountain of handkerchiefs. Now, just let yourself cry. As much as you need to. You'll have plenty of handkerchiefs to help you through it.
Another aspect of Sonic that is arguably just as important as his design is his personality. At the time of his conception, video game characters were mostly a blank canvas for players to put themselves upon. It's worth noting that I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with that at all. Link from The Legend of Zelda was created just for this purpose. His very name is a deliberate reference to players linking themselves to the world of Hyrule. I think that's a very important part of video games, the ability to insert yourself into another world and live vicariously through the player character. Even Mario was, and perhaps still is, a mere avatar for the player. Sure, he has motivations and whatnot, but when you think of Mario, you don't necessarily think of his personality. Mario is a character that I believe was intentionally left vague when it comes to his personality. He is a straightforward hero. Defeat the bad guy, save the princess, and save the Mushroom Kingdom. And again, I don't believe there's anything wrong with this, but Sonic brought something refreshing to the table. As I mentioned before, Sonic's character and personality is apparent just from looking at his design. The cocky smirk seen in nearly all artwork of him, the finger wagging on his debut game's title screen that seems to taunt anyone who dares go against him. Even his in-game idle animation clues you in to just what kind of character Sonic is. And mind you, he has no dialogue. All of this vital information about the character can be gleaned from just looking at him. Sonic brought the cool kid demeanor of a Saturday morning cartoon to the video game landscape. Mario was more of the teacher's pet, while Sonic was the snarky class clown. However, his cool demeanor didn't detract from his heroism. At his core, Sonic the Hedgehog is a character that stands for freedom in every aspect. He is like the wind and lives how he wants. Sonic knows no boundaries and represents a breaking of the status quo. Quick-witted, oozing attitude, short-tempered, and immune to authority. He's a daredevil who never turns down a challenge and is always willing to help those in need. One last aspect of Sonic that I'd like to touch upon is his game design. I consider the core components of a Sonic game to be speed, simplicity, and replayability. A Sonic the Hedgehog game is by design a game that can be played quickly, easily, and provides a different experience for every player on every repeat playthrough. It's obvious that Sonic's defining characteristic is his speed. Speed was a core component of Sonic's game design even before the character himself was created. Then Sega programmer Yuji Naka was a fan of Super Mario Bros. And would try to play the levels as quickly as possible. But he wanted something faster, a game that was made to play quickly. Players are rewarded by maintaining their speed and momentum and plowing through enemies. The Genesis era Sonic games specifically are intentionally simple to pick up and play. They only require one button. Although I will admit later games in the series added more and more mechanics as time went on, making them objectively less accessible to new players, although nonetheless fun in my opinion. Even the level design of Sonic's games are a distinct and deliberate choice. While I can't speak for all platformers, most had one set path for the player to take. Sonic's levels, on the other hand, were specifically designed to have multiple paths to the end. Generally, there's two main paths in a typical Sonic level. The main path, or the one players would usually take on their first playthrough, and a higher path that is usually harder to get to and stay on, but usually rewards the player with less enemies, more beneficial items, and a faster path to the goal. This is where skilled play comes in handy, as maintaining speed and momentum is crucial to staying on the better path. Last but not least, I have to mention one of the most defining part of Sonic's game design: rings. While at first glance many will equate them to another form of Mario coins, these iconic items are perhaps what sets Sonic apart from many other platformers, as they act as health for the player. Rings provide a cushion for most players, as they make the game far more forgiving than other platformers like Mario. As long as a player has just one ring, they won't lose a life.
Sonic's the name, speed's my game.
Despite multiple subjectively franchise-ending bombs, Sonic has stood the test of time because of the character himself. He is a video game icon who, despite all odds, has persisted and persevered for 30 years. He is one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time, selling over 140 million units and grossing over $6 billion as of the year 2020. It's almost poetic how this mirrors his go-getter attitude. To put it plainly, it's no coincidence that Sonic is still with us after all this time. I believe something can be learned from the story of Sonic the Hedgehog. The tale of Sonic the Hedgehog is one of resilience, powering through dark times to reach triumph, never giving up and never becoming discouraged. Sonic has influence in the video game industry and could be considered a pop culture icon. People are still willing to pay for more of him because there is an undeniable, almost indescribable allure about him. People love Sonic the Hedgehog. He is still a beloved character and a very vital part of video game history. Critics pronounced Sonic dead in 2003, 2004, 2006, 2013, 2014, and 2017, and yet here we are in the midst of what could only be called a Sonic renaissance. We have not one, but two critically acclaimed box office successes, with a third one on the way. We are on the brink of what could possibly be the best Sonic the Hedgehog game of the last 10 to 15 years. Sonic's popularity seems to be at an all-time high. As a fan since the age of 7, this is very magical to see. Sonic the Hedgehog is an underdog if there ever was one. Some see him as a joke and the laughingstock of the video games industry, but there is no doubting his longevity and his appeal.